The average American man retires at 62 and dies at 73. That's 11 years. Now subtract the years where his body is actually functional, probably 7 good ones. The average woman retires at 62 and dies at 79. 17 years. Here's where it gets mathematically insulting. Married men contribute more to retirement accounts during their working years because they earn more, but their wives statistically outlive them and spend the money. So men are funding a retirement system where they're the primary contributors and the least likely to enjoy it. It's like paying for a gym membership and dying in the parking lot. Women inherit 90% of wealth in America by age 60, not because they earned less, but because they lived longer. Retirement isn't a reward for decades of work. It's a transfer payment that happens to pass through your corpse. I'm going to explain how retirement as a financial product was designed by and for people who aren't you, why the math has never worked for men specifically, and what actually happens when you run the numbers with a brutally honest calculator instead of the garbage financial advisors use to make you feel better. Because the incentives here are so misaligned that nobody will tell you the truth until after you've already lost. By the way, I built a free early retirement calculator because most online ones are mathematically wrong. It uses BlackRock and Vanguard logic to expose the weak points in your plan. And I only ask for your email to send the report so I don't store any of your financial data. Link in the description. Think of retirement planning like buying a concert ticket to a show that statistically you'll miss. The ticket costs 40 years of compound interest. The venue is your health at age 70. And the opening act is watching your ex-wife enjoy the show you paid for. That's the central metaphor we're going to keep coming back to. Let me start with a thing nobody mentions. Retirement was invented in 1883 by Otto von Bismarck in Germany. He set the retirement age at 70. Life expectancy at the time was 45. You see the trick? Create a benefit that sounds generous, but almost nobody lives long enough to collect. It's insurance fraud in reverse. When America copied this system with Social Security in 1935, they set the age at 65. Average male life expectancy, 61. 4 years short. Women lived to 65 exactly. So the system was designed with a built-in gender arbitrage, where women break even and men subsidize them. Fast forward to today. We pretend we fixed this because life expectancy went up, but we didn't adjust for the new problem. Men still die earlier. In 2026, the gap is 6 years. And it's not like those 6 years are the good ones. Go to any retirement community and count the men versus women. It's like a college gender ratio, but depressing. One guy in his 70s, surrounded by 12 widows who've already spent their husbands' 401ks on Carnival cruises. Now you might be thinking, okay, but that's just biology. What's the financial angle? Here's where the math becomes genuinely offensive. The amount you need to retire is calculated using something called the 4% rule, invented by William Bengen in 1994. The rule says you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio annually and it'll last 30 years. Sounds reasonable until you realize 30 years was based on average life expectancy, which includes women. Run that same calculation for men specifically, and you discover you're oversaving by about $200,000 for a retirement you statistically won't fully use. That's 200 grand you could have deployed elsewhere, maybe enjoyed while your knees still worked. But financial planners never segment by gender because it would reveal the scam. Let me tell you about a guy I know, insurance adjuster, worked 43 years straight, saved aggressively, had 1.2 million in his 401k by 64. Picture perfect retirement plan. Dies at 69 of a heart attack. His wife, who worked part-time her whole life and contributed maybe 90,000 total to their joint retirement, inherits the full balance, lives to 86. Spends 17 years drawing down an account she barely funded. This isn't rare. This is the base case scenario. The system is working exactly as designed. It's just not designed for you. By the way, hit subscribe if you like the content. Otherwise, YouTube's algorithm may never show you my videos again. The second layer nobody talks about is occupational mortality. Men dominate the jobs that actively shorten your lifespan. Construction workers, electricians, truck drivers, oil rig workers, coal miners. Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows 92% of workplace fatalities are men. But here's the quiet part. Even if you survive the job, The job doesn't survive in your body. Roofers have an average retirement age of 64, but a life expectancy of 67, 3 years. Concrete workers, 4 years. These guys are paying into retirement systems calibrated for office workers with ergonomic chairs and standing desks. The 401k assumes you're coasting into your 70s with intact joints and a functioning cardiovascular system. But if you spend 30 years lifting heavy shit or breathing silica dust, your body's warranty expires early. There's an academic term for this. It's called mortality debt. Your body takes out a loan against your future when you're young and strong, and the bill comes due right around retirement. But retirement planning completely ignores this, because acknowledging it would require different savings targets for different professions, which would reveal that blue-collar men are getting robbed by a system that averages everyone together. And it gets darker. Occupational mortality intersects with something called mortality displacement. When men in physical jobs finally stop working, their death rate spikes in the first 2 years of retirement. Not because retirement is dangerous, because work was load-bearing. It gave them purpose, structure, identity. Remove that, and you get what researchers call the retirement cliff. Women don't experience this at nearly the same rate because women's identity isn't as tightly coupled to their occupation. Society gives women permission to reinvent themselves. Men are told they're nothing without the job. So when the job ends, so do they. I ran the numbers on this with actuarial tables. If you're a male construction worker making $75,000 a year and you max out your 401k from age 30 to 65, you'll have approximately $1.8 million at retirement, assuming 7% returns. Sounds great. Except your statistical retirement length is 4.2 years. That's an annual budget of $428,000 if you spent it all, which you won't because you're too conditioned to save. So you'll die with $1.5 million unspent. Your wife, statistically, will live another 12 years beyond you and spend your money on a life you're not in. You effectively worked yourself to death to fund someone else's golden years. This is the system. Now here's a third escalation, and this one makes people angry. Divorce. Approximately 40% of marriages end in divorce. The average age of divorce is 44 for men. That's right in the middle of your peak earning and saving years. And here's the part that breaks the retirement math completely. Courts don't just split assets 50-50 at the moment of divorce. They often award a portion of future retirement accounts too. It's called a Qualified Domestic Relations Order, or QDRO, pronounced quadro, by lawyers who enjoy torturing you linguistically as well as financially. Here's how it works. You bust your ass for 15 years, build up $300,000 in your 401k. You get divorced. The court says your ex-wife is entitled to half of the marital portion, which is usually the amount accumulated during the marriage. So if you had $50,000 before marriage, she gets $125,000 of the $250,000 you accumulated together. But wait, it's worse. In many states, she can also claim a share of your future contributions because your earning potential was enhanced during the marriage. So you're not just splitting the past, you're splitting the future. You're paying retirement alimony. And the compounding damage is invisible to most guys until it's too late. Imagine you're 45, just got divorced, lost $150,000 from your retirement account. You now have to replace that lost ground, plus continue saving for your own retirement. But you also have child support and possibly alimony eating into your cash flow. The math becomes almost impossible. To retire at 65 with the same standard of living you originally planned, you'd need to roughly double your contribution rate for the next 20 years. Most guys can't, so they push retirement back. Or they lower their standard of living. Or they just quietly accept they'll never stop working. I know a guy, software engineer, divorced at 47, lost $210,000 in retirement assets in the settlement. He was earning $130,000 a year. After child support and alimony, his take-home was effectively $60,000. He couldn't afford to max his 401k anymore. He dropped to the company match only about 6%. He's now 59. His retirement account has about $480,000. He needs at least $1.2 million to retire at his current lifestyle. He's not making it. He'll work into his 70s, assuming his body allows it, which statistically it won't because he's got high blood pressure and pre-diabetes. Retirement for him is a fantasy he paid into for decades but will never experience. And there are millions of men in this exact position who don't even realize the math is already cooked. Fourth escalation, the loneliness premium. This is the psychological angle nobody prices in. Women have social networks, men have coworkers. When retirement happens, women transition into book clubs, volunteer work, friend groups. Men transition into silence. Studies show men over 65 report severe loneliness at triple the rate of women. And loneliness isn't just sad, it's medically expensive. It increases mortality risk by 26%. It's the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So not only are you dying sooner, you're spending your short retirement isolated and paying more in healthcare costs to manage the stress-related conditions that loneliness causes. Here's the incentive structure nobody discusses. Financial advisors make money by managing assets. They get paid a percentage of what you save. So their incentive is to maximize the size of your retirement account, not the quality of your retirement experience. They never ask, are you going to be happy? Are you going to be healthy? Are you going to outlive your wife? They ask, how much can we get you to save? And the answer that maximizes their fees is always more. But for men specifically, more might mean you die with a bigger pile that someone else spends. You've optimized for the wrong variable. The meme here is that retirement planning is a confidence game where the mark is you and the prize is your remaining youth. You're told to delay gratification for 40 years so you can enjoy freedom in your 70s, which is when your body stops cooperating and your social network has evaporated. It's a Ponzi scheme where the returns are denominated in time you no longer have. Let me give you a concrete case study with real numbers, because this is where the abstraction becomes tangible. Meet hypothetical Steve. He's 35, makes $90,000 a year, contributes 10% to his 401k, gets a 3% company match. He's married, 2 kids. His wife works part-time, contributes to her own retirement at about 4%. They're a model American family financially. Run the standard retirement projection. By 65, Steve will have about $1.4 million in his 401k, assuming 7% annual returns. His wife will have about $400,000, combined $1.8 million. Financial advisor says they're on track for a comfortable retirement. Standard advice: keep saving, stay the course. But now run the actuarial reality. Steve works in logistics. He's on his feet 10 hours a day. His dad died at 71. His grandfather at 68. Family history of heart disease. Statistically, Steve's life expectancy isn't the average 76. It's probably closer to 70. His wife's family lives into their 80s. Her mom is 89 and still traveling. So here's what actually happens. Steve retires at 65. He's got 5 years, not the projected 23. In those 5 years, he and his wife draw maybe $200,000 from their combined accounts. Steve dies at 70. His wife inherits everything, $1.6 million. She lives to 88, 18 more years. She spends Steve's retirement, not hers, his. If Steve had known this, he might have made different choices. Maybe he takes a lower stress job at 50 that pays 20% less, but adds 5 years to his lifespan. Maybe he spends more aggressively in his 50s, enjoying his health while he has it. Maybe he structures assets to ensure his kids get something instead of it all passing to his wife's estate. But he didn't know, because nobody runs the projections honestly. Financial advisors optimize for account balance, not life satisfaction or legacy. Here's what's darkly funny about all this. We spend enormous energy optimizing retirement contributions. Should I do Roth or traditional? Should I pick the target date fund or build my own allocation? Should I rebalance quarterly or annually? And these questions matter maybe 2%. The 98% that matters is, are you going to live long enough to use this money, and will you be healthy enough to enjoy it? But we don't optimize for that because it requires confronting mortality and making hard psychological shifts. It's easier to obsess over expense ratios. There's a reason financial advisors never show you a projection that includes your actual life expectancy based on your profession, family history, and health metrics. It would reveal that for a significant percentage of men, retirement is a break-even proposition at best and a net loss at worst. You're working your most vital years to fund a future that's statistically unlikely. It's a bad trade. But nobody tells you, because the entire financial services industry is built on perpetuating the myth that if you just save enough, the golden years will be golden. Let me hit you with 2 quick asides here. First, imagine you're a financial advisor. Client walks in. You run an honest projection showing he'll probably die at 72 with 800,000 unspent. Do you tell him to save less and live more now? Of course not. You lose the fees. You tell him he's on track and upsell him on a variable annuity. Second aside, picture the retirement brochure. Happy couple on a beach, golf cart in the sunset. Nobody shows you the version where it's just the wife on the beach and the golf cart's empty because you're dead. So what do you actually do with this information? 3 practical takeaways. Not generic, actual moves. First, use a mortality-adjusted calculator, not the garbage online ones. Most retirement calculators assume you live to 90. If you're a man with a physical job, that's delusional. Plug in your actual expected lifespan based on family history and occupation. You might discover you're oversaving by 30%. That's money you can reallocate to enjoying your 40s and 50s, which are statistically your last good decades. I built a calculator that does this. It's free. Link below. It'll show you the gap between what advisors tell you to save and what you'll actually use. Second, front load your life spending. The standard advice is to sacrifice now for comfort later. But later might not come, or it might come when you're too physically broken to enjoy it. If you're 40 and you want to take a year off to travel or start a business or spend time with your kids, the financial cost is real, but the opportunity cost of waiting is higher. You can't buy back your health at 70. Optimize for memories in your peak years, not maximum account balance at death. Third, structure your assets defensively. If you're married, consider setting up accounts that don't automatically pass to your spouse, trusts for your kids, Roth conversions that benefit them, not her second husband after you're gone. This sounds cynical, but it's math. If you statistically won't spend your retirement, at least control who does. And if you're worried about divorce, which you should be given the 40% rate, separate as much as legally possible before the marriage and document everything. Post-nups exist. Use them. Retirement for men isn't broken because the system failed. It's working exactly as designed. It's just designed by people who live longer, work safer jobs, and have social safety nets you don't. You're funding a collective insurance pool where you're the least likely beneficiary. That's not conspiracy. That's incentives. Lazy investing built more fortune than crypto memes, but even lazy investing won't save you if you're optimizing for a retirement you'll never see. Run the real numbers, adjust accordingly, and maybe enjoy your 40s before your body sends you the bill.